Hello and welcome to the Clock and Talk, an Arsenal podcast, and we're covering, for fuck's sake.
Good job me and Schwinn are a lot more prepared than you, because if we came on and went, oh yeah, we didn't watch the game either, we was on the piss, it'd be a pretty shit podcast.
Well, Mesut Ozil is the best number 10 in the Premier League.
Yeah, that all looks good on paper, but there's never been a football match played on paper, so it's not really worth much.
I'm going to make a bold prediction that Jack Wilshere will sign for West Ham United.
It's time to start watching football with your eyes. I think people listen to what the commentator's saying and have that as their own opinion, but if you watch what's going on, you'll see things a lot clearer.
Schwinn, who do you think is going to win the Golden Boot?
I think Alexis Sanchez might do a number on that this year.
Okay. Tony talks about a clock being right twice a day. Tez is right every day. 5 from 5, lads. Fucking beauty.
Welcome to another edition. I'm trying to cheer myself up. Welcome to another edition of the Clock and Talk podcast with me, Darren, sitting in once again for Tez, and as usual, I'm joined by Tony. Hello, Tony.
You all right?
No, I'm miserable. I feel like I've got the weight of Emery's world on my shoulders. Sometimes when you do a podcast every week, and especially after an international break, you really don't feel like sitting down and combing through that shit from last night, do you?
Obviously, I just said to you that if I feel like I probably wouldn't have done it if it hadn't been an international break and that we hadn't done one for like over 2 weeks. Because it's been that break, it's like if you miss a game, it like becomes nearly a month, and then people start to think as if they quit, especially with what's going on with Tez, they think, oh, have they just given up? So you kind of feel like you have to do it, even though you really don't want to talk about that shit.
Well, talking of Tez, have you any updates on Tez? Tez, when are you coming back?
Yeah, I've spoken to him quite a bit. He said he's a couple of weeks away, but then yesterday watching the game, he watched the game against my advice because I know what Arsenal does to my heart, and my heart's seemingly healthy. But he watched it and he said he just felt like turning on the microphone and ranting, but he knew it weren't good for him. So hopefully he'll be back soon. I think he's still going to the hospital every other day, I think he said. But he's seemingly all right. He's good. Obviously still got the complications, but he's talking and he's messaging quite regularly and whatnot. So,
well, Tez, we're looking forward to having you back on here. What happened to that fella Schwinn who used to turn up on this podcast?
Who? That name don't ring a bell.
Yeah. He's a real fair weather podcaster, isn't he?
If we win on Sunday, it'll be a Schwinscher.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, he's gone back to school, big school now, as we said last week. But we offered him all sorts of time today, didn't we? We said we'd do it at midnight, 10 o'clock, but no.
Well, we even offered him his suggestion, and it was still no. What time can you do? 10? Okay. Oh, no, I'm busy.
Anyway.
It's fine because he's so busy he won't listen to this, so you can call him whatever you want. And any questions, I'm pretty sure he doesn't read them. So if you want to abuse Schwinn, do it in the question thread.
Okay. All right. Yeah, if you're listening out there, you can abuse Schwinn all you like. So let's get to it. I mean, I'm a little push for time myself today, actually. So there's just so much misery to talk about. We saw that lineup again. It's a strange one because we talk about this. Is how we start the show. So Tez always starts the show. Let's have a look at the lineups. And I keep looking at the lineups, and you think, well, yeah, it's okay. You know, who else is there? But this one was a bit of a shock for me. I thought he'd make the call and put Tierney in. What about you? Yeah,
two things that bothered me. One, Tierney, which was, I think, I've not seen anyone that hasn't moaned about that. Even before the game, obviously, I got up there. I was in Sheffield at about 6 o'clock. And for the whole time then, even in the pubs, everyone was like, oh, we expect to see Tierney, we expect Tierney. And then when the lineup come out without him, everyone was disappointed. It seemed like it was the same online. And the other one is that midfield again. There's just no link between the front three, whoever they're going to be, and that midfield. And he kind of, yesterday, it looked like he tried to shoehorn Willock into it. And I like Willock. This is nothing against him, but he was almost anonymous because he just didn't know what he was meant to be doing. And it's going to come around again that the answer to that question is who is the link between the midfield and our attack is sitting at home on 350 grand a week.
Yeah, it was strange, wasn't it? I mean, I sort of thought he went Willock because he'll make it a little bit more solid in the midfield, but then you're right, he didn't really play him as a part of a midfield three. He sort of shoved him in as a sort of number 10 sort of link, and was, probably his worst game he's had for the club. Not his fault, just was bypassed, wasn't he? Just
it just baffles me that he's trying to, because before the thought was always he doesn't like tens. Okay, fair enough. I don't agree with you, but okay, that's your... Now he's playing players as tens that don't really know what they're doing there. So it's like, just bite your pride. If you want a 10 in the team, pick the guy that is clearly our best number 10.
Yeah, I think, doesn't he see Willock a bit... I mean, not that he used Ramsey to that much effect in the first 6 months of his tenure, but I think he sees Willock as that sort of guy who can sit between the lines and can break through. He's got an eye for goal. He's always there or thereabouts. And he maybe just thinks he's a little bit tougher than Ozil or Ceballos in that cold Monday night away game in the north of England. I'm not saying that's right, but is that perhaps what his thinking was? That?
Well, yeah, I said at the back end of last season on here that I didn't think we'd replace Ramsey and Willock was there as his replacement. I think the issue was yesterday is that, and someone said it in our WhatsApp group earlier, that Ramsey and or Willock is the guy that arrives on the edge of the box and puts the chances away. But yesterday he tried to use Willock as the guy that makes the chances. So I think long term he is identified as Ramsey's replacement or to do the same job as Ramsey done. But then you can't then ask him to do the job that Ramsey didn't do.
No. And back to Tierney, I mean, it was just a bit strange. I mean, again, I spend a lot of this my time on this podcast defending Emery more as devil's advocate sometimes, but the only thing I can think of with the Tierney situation is that Kolasinac, I keep getting complained that I called him Kolasinac. Kolasinac has actually played well in the last 2 games, knowing that he's under pressure for his place. He's probably, I'm not one of Kolasinac's fans, but he's actually stepped up and played quite well. So is this manager actually just managing his team and managing the players by saying, look, you can't just walk into this side, this guy's playing well, you've got to oust him? Or was he just... tell me what's going on, Tony. Why didn't he pick the guy?
I mean, he came out after and said that Kolasinac hasn't done anything wrong to lose his place, which for me is just very weak management. You shouldn't have to give your place away. It almost seems like, if you're sort of steady at a 6 out of 10, you're not giving your place away. So then the next person doesn't have a chance to come and take it. Tierney is just better. So it shouldn't require Kolasinac to have a 3 out of 10 for him to go, I'll give Tierney a chance. It's how he started off last season as well. I think Torreira was one of them where it was like, the players are playing, haven't done anything wrong to lose their place. But that's not how it should be. For me, it's just very, very weak management. And I'm not saying Kolasinac has been poor in the last few games, but I don't think he's been any better in, Bournemouth and whoever, Man United before that. I don't think he was any better in them games than he has been at any other time. I think he's just a sort of rank 6 out of 10, maybe a 5 out of 10.
Isn't that the problem last night when you look through that team? I think we've got a decent goalkeeper. We've got 2 ageing centre halves. We've got Chambers, who looked like he was filling in at right back. We've got Kolasinac, who's a 6 out of 10 at left back. We've got Saka, who looks like a kid trying to make his way. Is a bit lightweight, trying to make his way in a big team. You've got the same with Willock, a little bit nervous. You've got Xhaka, who's just slow and doesn't move out of a 10-yard radius. It was just a very ordinary side with a few stars in there. Pepe was excellent, Aubameyang is excellent, but wasn't there just too many things that are very average about that side last night?
I think there is, but I said the problem still remains is you can probably get away with being a bit average if you have got the superstars up front, or as I said, I agree with you that Pepe played like a star yesterday, but we had no one to link the two to get the ball between, which is the issue. I mean, you look at the Liverpool team under Brendan Rodgers, they were absolute trash at the back, had one of the worst keepers in the league, but had Suarez and Sturridge, who were both flying that year, and Coutinho to link them. So you can get away with being, as you said, bang average with a couple of star players, but you need to put them in a framework that helps and exists for them. I make you bang on. We've got them players, but we've just gone, sort of go and play football. If you are shit, play to your superstars' qualities or strengths, and we just didn't do that at all.
Yeah, I've just got in my notes here as well. Mike Dean, is someone out there listening? Do we seem to have Mike Dean more than any other referee?
It's funny because we wasn't sure who it was at first yesterday, because the first 20 minutes his decisions were ridiculous, but he wasn't as like pantomime as he usually is. So he wasn't quite sure who it was from the stands. And then when we looked, someone next to me looked on the BBC website and saw it was Mike Dean. And they said it just feels like he refs us every week.
Yeah, and he doesn't like us. I'm not even saying he's the worst referee. You know, he's one of these referees. I don't like him because it is all about him. It is all about pantomime. I don't know if you caught it last night at the match, when I can't remember. It was right at the end of the game. The ball went off for a goal kick,
and he's done that point and bent his knees and it's. Do
you know that's planned? You know that's him, isn't it? He can see that moment. He can see this is it, end of the game. You know, Mike Dean in profile. Just can't stand it. Why have we got to have him every week? Have we done something wrong? You know, he's because we mistreated Arsene Wenger. The football world's coming back to have a go at us. Something is wrong that we get him every week.
Well, we've got Atkinson this weekend. It's just been confirmed, and I'm sure there's going to be some questions about VAR at some point. And I've got an interesting story I heard from someone. So when we get onto VAR, I'll go into that, and it's a bit of a complaint about refs as well.
Well, okay. Well, the first thing I've got in the game was probably the first incident was the Socrates non-penalty. I think if I've got my order right.
Yeah, that was pretty much first thing. I'll be honest, I've not seen the game back, so I've only seen what I saw from my seat. I've seen still images of that. It look. We had this. Me and you actually had this discussion earlier in the season with a shirt. When is a shirt pull a shirt pull? Because for me, that was the same as Salah's that Luiz got given. But I don't know. I don't know if you expect that to be given from a corner. If you give every one of them, I think you said it earlier in the season. If you give every one of them, you get 10 penalties a game.
Yeah,
it is a shirt pull. I'm not saying it isn't. And it's one of them. This my biggest complaint with VAR, and I'm going more against it every week, is that it actually doesn't do anything. Because the rule at the moment is basically if the ref gives it, it's a foul, and if the ref doesn't give it, it's not a foul. But that was the rule before VAR.
Yeah.
Because they're not overturning decisions. So I'm not surprised that one wasn't given.
Me neither. I mean, look, I think there's two issues here. The one with VAR not changing anything. If they had sold us the theory of VAR being that, if they had said, look, we're going to introduce this system, but we're only going to overturn real howlers, we'll check it in the background. You won't even know it's there. You know, we'll check all the goals, we'll do all this, but we're not actually going to change decisions. We would actually maybe be looking at VAR a little bit differently and going, do you know what? This is all right. It's the fact that we know that it's there and we know that the referee's holding his hands to his ear. What was wrong with the other part to it? So I think they've just missold VAR to us, and maybe
that's the problem for me. What's happening is basically the ref's just making a decision, which is the same as it always has been, but it's just taking a minute longer because they're checking it and then they're still going with the original decision.
Yeah. Well, but then it goes back to that last night. Once the referee has not given that as a penalty, they're not going to change it. We know that now. We know that's how it's being used. But Mike Dean is very close, and I mean, there is a little bit of grappling between the two players. If you haven't seen it back, the two of them are grappling before Socrates makes his run. But it is one of those, as he jumps up to head the ball, he's pulled back. So his balance goes, his feet fly forward, and he's pulled over. It is a penalty. It's one of those that if the referee sees. But the referee, Mike Dean, was there staring at it. And that's the bit I don't get. You know, I mean, I'm not saying they all should be penalties, and I'm not saying VAR was wrong in this instance, but the referee is standing there, and I think if he hadn't had his shirt pulled, he would have headed that, towards goal.
Yeah, well, just to go on, obviously the story I said I was going to talk about. So the rumour in football at the moment, which is a bit of a bullshit term really, is that a group of refs, not all of them, have basically said to the PGMOL, they're called the match official group.
Yeah.
Never overrule my decision if I say I've seen it, because it throws me off my stride for the rest of the game and I can't make any decision. I start questioning myself, and that the whatever they're called, PGMO or whatever it is, have agreed to it. And one of them, the reason I was going to bring it up, is Martin Atkinson. He's the one that's like apparently the figurehead of this group of refs that have said never overrule us. I don't know who the others are, because I was talking to someone about the Pepe one against Bournemouth that we spoke about. And he went, yeah, it was Atkinson. And apparently the reason Anthony Taylor, who was the VAR that day, came out and said like I thought it was a penalty, but I didn't want to overrule him, is the other half of the refs that aren't in that group are massively against that group that are saying don't overrule us because it's making them look stupid. Because now we're going, oh, why didn't VAR give that? And so apparently the reason Anthony Taylor gave that interview was to try and sort of throw a bit of shade at them, like, but covertly in a way, by saying, oh, well, I thought it was a penalty, but I didn't want to overrule him because it stops them getting the abuse. But that's a strong rumour in football just going around that Atkinson and a couple of others, I don't know who they are, have basically said don't overrule me on anything unless it's something I can't have possibly seen, like a handball like Mane's the other day, or if it's an offside, which obviously isn't his job.
Yeah, it's just the whole thing is been missold to us, isn't it? We're not getting. I've always been against technology. Just maybe it is because I'm old school and I like goal line technology, but I like the arguments in the pub about how shit referees. I know, and there's too many subjective decisions in football for me to think that this will work. But I can see how it can work. But the way they've brought it in just isn't going to work.
Yeah, I mean, firstly, for me, the way they used it in the World Cup was perfect. I don't know why. I think it's being typical English. Oh, we've got to do it better and absolutely fuck everything up. But for me, and I was having this discussion on the way back last night, it shouldn't be another referee as a VAR. For me, it should be someone independent who doesn't know the refs, has no connections with the club. So people saying ex-players, I wouldn't even do that. But just be like an umpire who has no... So the refs can't say to him, oh, don't overturn my decision. Fuck you. Who are you? I'm going to give the right decision. I don't care who you are. Because at the moment, they're all too pally. Anthony Taylor won't give it because his mate Martin Atkinson might get upset. Completely independent guy. You don't even have to name them if you don't want to. He's just the umpire or the, you know what I mean? The TMO, whatever you want to call him.
Well, there's enough money in football, and look, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, but what you just said there is rather than having another referee do it, okay, there's technical decisions where you probably need someone with that skill, but you could just have 10 blokes in a room with a yes or no button, for a penalty, couldn't you? You could just have 10 referees. You could have 10 referees from non-league football. You could have just pay them a couple of quid that they see at home, they see the incident, and they can press a button saying penalty or not penalty, and then go with a majority. You you might as well do that rather than have personalities involved. The thing.
Yeah, well, I just think, as I said, when it's friends as well, because obviously these referees have get-togethers and whatnot, and they're all seen as one body because they all represent each other in one way, because you just see them as referees. So they're not going to upset their friends or go something that goes against, like, makes someone in their profession look stupid.
Yeah, the one thing I've got to disagree with you there, Tony, is Mike Dean surely doesn't have any friends.
You don't. Cunt. Yeah. No, I always used to like bald cunts until Mike Dean started.
So what happened next? Was the Pepe chance next, or did they score? I think it was Pepe chance, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he started it on the edge of our area, beat a couple of players, laid it off, continued his run. It's a bad miss. You have to talk about it, but it's kind of one of them things I don't want to focus on because he was our best player by an absolute mile.
Yeah, agreed.
He was the only one that looked like doing anything, but unfortunately, the best chance of the game, barring the goal, has fallen to him, and he should score.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, I'd take more performances like we had from him yesterday over other games that we've seen from him. So I couldn't believe he came off, and I know we're going to get onto that later, but I was in absolute shock.
Yeah, it was strange. Yeah, I mean, let's have some credit for the football. It was a very rare moment in this season, but it was sort of how you expect us to play, wasn't it? We sort of sit deep, beat the press with a bit of skill, go upfield, 3 or 4 passes, and then it's a tap-in goal. It was beautiful. It was the only time in the game, and one of the rare occurrences this season. But isn't that?
Yeah, well, I mean, both chances in the first half, that and then, it wasn't really a chance. I think it was changed. No, Pepe crossed it, and Aubameyang couldn't get to it even earlier than that. But they both came on counter attacks, and then it's like we spend all this time like passing out from the back, doing pretty much fuck all, and then end up going long anyway. When the only way we actually created anything was bringing them onto us and then breaking, like obviously, like you said, with that chance where Pepe beats a couple of players on the edge and we end up breaking and getting numbers in the box.
But isn't this? I mean, look, and this is not. I know there's a question later aimed at me about my 100% supports for Emery, and I'll take that up when we do the questions. But we keep being asked what our style is and the more I look at Arsenal playing this season, what the manager wants to do is to be under the cosh, have these teams come at us, make us sit deep, restrict them from shots from outside the box, but nick the ball, play it round them and break upfield and play counter-attacking football. It is not working at all, but that seems to be the way he wants to play. When he played with Seville, that was it, wasn't it? Play with very fast counter-attacking players. I remember them when they were playing, British teams in those 3 successful years. That was what they were good at doing. They were good at sitting back, taking the pressure and then breaking quickly upfield. I think as Arsenal, we don't want to be that sort of sitting back counter-attacking team. We're better than that. We're Arsenal Football Club.
Especially when it starts at goal kicks, when even if teams pressing, they press with 3 players, maybe 4. So it's not even like a counter-attack, because even if you beat that press, which we're absolutely terrible at doing, but even if you do, they've still got 5, 6, 7 bodies back anyway. So it's all disjointed. I half agree with you that at some points you think, that's what he's trying to do, but then he'll do something else that goes completely against that, like not playing someone that can play that final ball or tucking Saka very narrow. And you think, well, if you're trying to play on the break, get quick players wide to stretch the pitch. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of like counterproductive. He sets out a plan and then chooses players or plays them players in roles that don't suit that plan at all.
Yeah.
Like, again, he might not be ready, but if you're going to play out from the back the way you do and you don't really give a fuck about defending, which it pretty much seems like, play holding. Don't play Kolasinac because you can't roll the ball into him.
Yeah.
There's just so many things that if that is his plan, which I kind of half agree with you, but then play the players that suit that plan.
Yeah.
It's like he chooses one and then just randomly chooses the other, and it doesn't really care if they mix or not.
Yeah. All right, well, let's move on. So then they score, I guess, 30 minutes in. There was a lot of corners in the game last night. I think, we don't seem to score from that many corners. And I think actually we've been fairly good at defending corners over the last 18 months compared to previous regime. But that was just a cock-up all the way round, wasn't it? 3 players getting beat at the far post. And then a player left on his own 3 yards out to tap the ball in.
Yeah, I mean, I was the side the corner was taken from. I was literally standing right next to the corner flag. And you knew if they won that header at the back post, they'd scored, because it was like, do you know when you see like under 7s football where all the kids run towards the ball? And I mean, some of the blame I've seen placed on players this morning, like for not marking the man in the middle when it was never their job, or they were doing something completely different, or we're in a zone and someone's broken into that zone. It was just rank amateur defending, but the point comes, he shouldn't be free in the middle on his own, but you can't lose that header at the back. It's because it's not even deep back post. It's not like it's outside the 6-yard box where it's gone beyond any zone. It's probably in line with the post, maybe a yard outside it. You can't lose that ball.
Agreed. 3 players there. 3 players. Whether it's zone or man marking.
I've not seen it back, but we usually, so I could be completely wrong here, but we usually switch our fullbacks to corners. So in theory, it should have been, again, I might be wrong, it should have been Callum Chambers there. And if it was, that's very disappointing for him to lose a header at the back post, because it's kind of like you've got him there as a fullback as someone that's going to win pretty much every header.
Yeah.
As I said, it might not have been him, so I could be being completely harsh. But knowing how we usually defend, the right back goes to the back post, or depending on what side it's on. But the right back goes to the left and the left back goes to the right for some strange reason.
So we will go 1-0 down against Sheffield United away from home. They've let in fewer goals than any other team except for Liverpool. That's it. That was it. Game over. I mean, it's embarrassing to say because we are Arsenal Football Club, but they knew how to play us. They knew how to defend. We had 85% possession in the second half, but hardly created a chance. They knew how to set up for when we were trying to play out the back. They didn't press us. They just stood in areas that made it awkward for us. They stood in places when we had throw-in after throw-in and made us look like Sunday morning footballers because we couldn't move enough to get through their organisation. Embarrassing, eh, Tony?
Yeah, I mean, we was also like, say you knew the ball was on the left and it was always going to go out to the right to Chambers, for example. Instead of playing that, like maybe one pass to the centre-back and then the centre-back missing, it was also like, say, for example, Kolasinac to Luiz, to Socrates, to Chambers. And it took so long, where it's like just one big switch. Everything was just happening too slow, and it was almost too precise in that, okay, the ball's going to get to Chambers without trouble. But by the time it gets there, they've had the chance to... You're not pulling them out of shape because they can just shift across. Everything was just too slow, laboured, and the easy option.
Couldn't agree more, yeah. Couldn't agree.
From everyone.
I think that's one of the things that I mean, I was looking, I quite like Callum Chambers. I quite like the fact that he's playing his way back into the team. Do I think he's a very good right back? No, I don't. Do I think he's probably first choice for Arsenal at the level we need to be at? Probably not. And yesterday, Pepe was making run after run, as was Aubameyang, and Chambers just, and this is not a criticism of him per se, but this is the quality of him as a player, and we had them throughout the team last night, is that by the run, the ball had to be made instantly. If it was a Mesut Ozil, that I'm sure we'll get on to, if we had a Mesut Ozil there, that when he receives the ball, he knows that player's making the run, he makes that. By the time that Chambers is making that first touch, looked up, then the player has run offside, so it comes back inside, goes along. And that was the same with everyone last night. There was no chances taken. As you said, it was so precise, so careful, and we just really missed somebody who could split, because there were runs being made by Saka, Aubameyang and Pepe, and there was hardly a ball put through to them.
Yeah, what doesn't help, and obviously I'm sort of part of this crowd, but the crowd sort of, if someone gives the ball away, taking a chance, for me, I'll clap, like, unless it's a really easy ball when they give it away. But if someone takes a chance on a 50-50 ball and gives it away, fine by me.
Yeah. But didn't you feel that at the end,
fans seem to have 100% whilst playing clinical balls. Like, that's never going to happen. The amount of groans, and again, it depends who's playing it.
Yeah.
But, like someone would play a pass forward, and because it's given away, fucking Xhaka again, or Luis trying to play long balls again. And it's like, fuck off. Do that 15 times. You're good enough to get it right once or twice, and if you do, we're in.
Do you know, it was the only thing, and we'll get on to the substitutions, I guess, but it was the only thing that I kind of liked last 10 minutes, because I normally am a positive fan, and I sort of thought we can still do this. We nick one, even with 5 minutes to go, we can nick a winner. That's how I was thinking. Yesterday, I didn't think it. Yesterday, I just thought we can play all day here and we're not going to score. But what I'd kind of liked, and they were all over the place positionally, but I thought you could see that we are going to cause some people's problems when you got Pepe and Saka and Lacazette and Aubameyang, so many attacking players, that when we did actually put the ball into him, Pepe would take someone on, he'd lose the ball, but it'd be picked up by Guendouzi, he'd find someone who would take someone on, and it wasn't until the last 5 or 6 minutes that we allowed those, and Pepe had gone off at that time, but we allowed those exciting attacking players we got just to take people on. And that's what we didn't do the whole game. We just would rather pass it backwards rather than risk the wrath of the fans or the manager and give the ball away. Agree with you 100%.
I think, I don't know if you're kind of giving him too much credit there. I think it basically started with Martinelli ignoring everyone else and doing what the fuck he wanted. And I don't mean that in a negative way, because he was trying stuff, and you could see players were screaming at him, like, pass it backwards to the left back. And it was almost like he was going, fuck that. Like, I'm running at the player.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of started something. I was surprised. Just after he came on, we got a corner and Ceballos went over to take it and he was calling Saka short. Martinelli absolutely bollocked him. I was going, get the ball in the fucking box. There's 5 minutes to go. We're 1-0 down.
Yeah.
And you thought, this is an 18-year-old kid that's played about 25 seconds of Premier League football.
Yeah.
But no one else was doing it.
But
every one of the fans were.
I felt like that. It was only the last 5 or 6 minutes. I mean, that was it. I thought the last 5 or 6 minutes, there was 1 or 2 players. Saka was doing it. There was players that were just trying things. Finally, they would, The problem with us as Arsenal over the last year, 18 months, 3 years even, is that when we lose the ball in those situations, is that teams have run at us, run through us and scored. I mean, that's just been time and time again. With at that stage of the game yesterday with Guendouzi and who was in the middle with him?
No one.
Yeah, but we at least we started to take chances in the last 5 minutes. But we got an hour and a half to win that game of football, and we have 3 shots. It's just
Well, look, that's what I was saying. We had 3 shots on target off the top of my head. One was Xhaka from about 40 yards, got subbed off. One was Pepe from a free kick, got subbed off, and the other one was Ceballos volley that was blocked. I mean, I don't know if I've said this to you. I kind of had different rules of what's a shot on target. I think if an average man on the street could save it, it's not a shot on target. And the Ceballos one, he actually hit it well, but it was blocked to such a point that I think my dog would have saved it.
Yeah, it was. It went. I mean, I guess it was a shot on target, but
by what is conventionally a shot on target.
But it was more of a blocked shot rather than a shot on target. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I mean, it was blocked and it just dribbled through at the keeper, didn't it?
Yeah, so they're your 3 shots on target. 2 of them got subbed off, and the other one is not really, you know what I mean? You wouldn't say, could have gone in.
No. Even the Xhaka shot was...
a bit of a camera save, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was exactly that. It was 2 yards in from the corner, and it was at a comfortable height, and he made a big song and dance over it. Look, anything else on the game that you want to talk about? Because we've got some questions to get through, I'm sure. Not that I've looked.
I've not read the questions, so this might be overlapping a little bit, but there was one point, there was a few points where the players were so nervous in playing it out from the back, or there was nothing on, so they went to go long, and Emery went absolutely ballistic at them. And look, I know I'm very much Emery out, so this may be coming across as like super biased, but if your players are not comfortable doing something and it's not worked for the previous 75 minutes, don't make them. Like, I know you have a philosophy, and I half respect that, but you can't make these players do things. It's detrimental to the team. If they can't do it, either don't pick them or don't make them do it. Like, to see him actually lose his rag at the players because they weren't comfortable playing short and he was getting no benefit from it, and it had been 75 minutes. For me, again, it's just terrible man management.
Yeah, not going to argue with you today. I mean, we didn't touch on the substitutions. Anything you want to bring up there?
Yeah, I mean, the Willock one was obvious. There was loads of space in the 10 in the 10 space in the first half, but Willock just didn't know where to stand. Again, not his fault. It's not what he does. So that was obvious. And I thought Ceballos looked really bright for the first 20 minutes or whatever of the second half. I disagree with most people. I thought the Xhaka sub was a very bad one. We had to get Lacazette on, but the issue was it moved Aubameyang left, which I'm never a fan of, but it also moved Ceballos deeper, and I thought he was picking up some really nice pockets of space. So where obviously Xhaka's gone off and Ceballos has taken over his role, it left him way too deep. And I thought that we lost a lot of momentum when we done that. And then the Pepe sub was just absolutely moronic.
Well, let's go back. We'll go on to that one then. But isn't there sort of something groundbreaking that he took Xhaka off?
I don't know if he's trying to please the fans. It was the biggest cheer of the night.
Yeah, I mean, I just wondered whether, maybe that is a change that we haven't seen before, because generally it would have been a Guendouzi or a Saka would have come off in that position. He took him off
a few weeks ago against someone, because I remember a big cheer then. I can't remember who it was against.
Yeah, that's right. He was substituted at the Emirates, wasn't he? But it does at least show that the manager is looking at, changing that. He's been an ever-present.
I don't know, because on both occasions, it was Villa, sorry, I've just remembered. They were kind of like desperation subs, like we're losing. And it's not that he doesn't see him as his strongest player. It's like, we just need to get someone that's more likely to score on. But I as I said yesterday, I thought this is not pretty defending Xhaka. It's just what happened to Ceballos. Moving Ceballos out of a role where he looked quite bright, I think was a mistake.
And then taking Pepe off for who came on? Martinelli, that's right. Who would you have taken off then?
Saka. I'm surprised Saka, even when Lacazette was getting warmed up, everyone in the ground thought it was going to be Saka. And then obviously when Xhaka came off, there was a cheer, but everyone was surprised. We all thought it was Saka. I thought Saka had a very quiet game.
Yeah.
And the weirdest bit was that he kind of went into like a 10-ish when Pepe came off. So it's like Aubameyang went right, Martinelli went left, Lacazette as through the middle, and Saka as a 10.
Yeah.
Like, hang on, where's that come from? Like, you're just making this up now.
Yeah, I can't argue with it. I guess we should do. This is hard today. Should we do our 3-2-1s for those of you who are new?
I think the 3's easy.
For those of you who are new to the podcast, what we do, I don't know if Schwinn actually records all these, does he? This is the plan. We give our ratings on the top 3 players, our 3, 2 and 1 points, and at the end of the season it will see who the podcast player of the year is. 3 points. Have we both gone for Pepe?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if anyone who watched that last night. I saw some criticisms of him after he missed that chance, but everything good that we did came from him. Fair comment?
Yeah. I mean, he had one of the shots on target. The break I spoke about earlier was his ball into Aubameyang. It was a bit too far in front of him. Just everything. Anything. He was the only one that looked like he was... You said earlier that they were taking risks in the last 5 minutes. He was the only one that was sort of doing that at any time, and it was the only one that looked like making anything happen, because the Sheffield United defenders didn't know what he was going to do. Whereas with the rest of the team, it was like, well, they're going to play a very safe ball to one side, so we can track that. Suddenly, Pepe doing something different, and they were scared of him.
So who's your 2 points?
I don't know.
Well, let me help you, because I haven't got any 1 point yet. It took me ages to work out who I was going to give the 2 points. I'm going to go Guendouzi again. There's very little to choose from. I just find him our most influential player. He is the one that links it up at the back, covered well at the back when there were counter-attacks against us, tried always to put the ball forward. Didn't think it was his best game, but he was the best in a very poor side. So I'll give
he was the only player that was in my head for a 2, but I can't really think of any great reasons to give it to him. He tried, he drove forward a little bit. He didn't do anything that anyone's going to remember, or even now, I can't remember anything he'd done. But I felt like he was trying, and I hate giving points to people for trying, because everyone should be trying. But yeah, he was the only person in my head, but then if you ask me for a reason, I'm not really sure of it.
All right, Shrin, if you're listening, that's 2-3s for Pepe, 2-2s for Guendouzi, and I've got no one down for 1. I've got Lacazette, then I've crossed him out, because he surely couldn't have got 1 point for playing for 10 minutes. But I sort of felt that he changed us a bit when he came on. He looked...
Do you know, with Lacazette, I was going to say this earlier, sorry, I forgot. It was moronic, because we kept rolling the ball into him to hold up, and he'd done it very, very well. Not a criticism of him. But then we had no one within 30 yards of him. Yeah. What is the point of holding it up when there's no one near you? Like, again, I'm not blaming him. They've rolled it into him. He's done so well pretty much every time. But then he has to try and beat like 6 players or play the ball 30 yards away. Why take the risk of rolling it into someone with defenders around them if they've not got a pass on? That's why I was very surprised that it was Pepe that come off and Aubameyang went wide, because you thought, we'll get him near Lacazette, so then when Lacazette holds it up, he's got someone to bounce off, but apparently not.
Okay, well, I'm going to give a point to Lacazette. Doesn't really make much sense, but I've got to give it to someone, and he at least cheered me up when he came on.
Yeah, Ceballos nutmeg someone after about 10 seconds of coming on. That'll do.
Okay. All right, I'm desperately trying to find the Twitter feed. How comes I've lost it? It was here waiting to go. Lots more criticism. Clock and talk. There we go. I've found it. So, sorry, excuse me waffling on there. I just wanted to find your questions. Few as usual. I guess they're all very positive, but if I'm absolutely honest, I haven't even looked at the thread yet. Have you had a chance to have a look, Tony?
I never do, because I don't want to pre-prepare answers that might not be actually what I'm thinking. So,
well, I know there was one when just after you posted it, I saw my name come up as somebody complaining. Oh, come on, you miserable Arsenal fans! We played a fairly decent Sheffield United side. We're still 5th in the table. Stop your miserable moaning. I'm going to struggle this week, Tony. Right, let's go. Questions. Thanks for sending them in. This is where you've sent your questions into clockend_talk. Sushant is the first one that I've got here. Why was the shirt pull on Socrates not a penalty? What's the point of VAR? Well, I think we've done that one. Best game for Pepe for us. Agreed. Both of us agree with you. I think that was probably his best game for the club so far, didn't you, Tony?
Yeah. I think before he's maybe looked better in that small. Like, I think the first half at Liverpool he was probably better than he was yesterday, but it was only the first half.
Yeah.
I think that's his best. I can't say complete game because he came off, but complete for the whole time he was on the pitch. He was dangerous.
So
that shot, I've not seen it back. He had a shot just before he went off, and we all thought it was in. Was it anywhere near? Curling shot quite far out.
It wasn't far, but the commentator that I was listening to on was it Sky last night? I hated that, paying £10 to watch one Sky game because I haven't got it sorted yet. The commentator just didn't like Pepe. The commentator at from the start decided that Pepe was going to be a shit import and he's rubbish and we paid too much for him. And after his shot, he went, "Let's see if that's any closer." No, it's not. But it was a decent effort, just didn't curl enough.
The angle I was at, like, we could see the keeper scrambling. So,
it was
keepers usually nut. How far?
It It was a yard, probably a yard.
Yeah, just usually when you see a keeper scrambling, you know it's very, very close.
Yeah.
And Henderson he looked in trouble.
Yeah.
But not seen about, so I don't know how close it was.
Sushant continues. How does Emery keep finding new ways to foul in away games? Against Watford we can't defend. Now against Sheffield United we cannot create. Yeah, okay, agreed. These are more statements than questions. And he finishes by saying, we keep saying Emery needs a fullback, but he has Kieran Tierney fit and he did not play him. Why? We don't know. It's an idiot. Anything to add on any of those, Tony? No.
No, I mean, they could just be general statements from the fan base. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think you'll find anyone that can really answer any of them because we all share the same opinions pretty much.
Yeah. Halls of Marble. Why are we the banter spotlight now? United and Spurs failings were too funny. Screw the head coach and players to getting us back to that position.
It's just old headlines die hard, hasn't it? It's been so long that it's just the easy headline to write. Have you noticed, I don't know how much you're on Twitter, but Duncan Castles was always Mourinho's mouthpiece in the media and defended everything Mourinho done.
Yeah.
And Emery's got one. I don't know what Emery's done to it, but Matt Scott, fucking Emery could shit on a child and he'd make a positive out of it somehow. It's borderline ridiculous. I don't know how, if the club have got him on the payroll or something, but it's to the point where it's almost like a fucking parody.
Yeah. Well, you're not going to get a lot of that from me today. This is another one from Halls of Marble. Emery has to go. What truly has changed since Wenger left? He's more tactically flexible. There have been no real defensive enhancements.
I think we've gone backwards. I've been saying it for fucking too long now. There was this thing come out today. I don't know if it's true, but it suits my point, so let's pretend it is. I think Wenger's last 47 games versus Emery's first 47. And I hate comparing the two because they're different, but I think Wenger's team won more, lost less, scored more, conceded less. And it was like that was what we considered as our worst phase as a club. I know as well that based on, it's not exactly accurate, but based on last season, this season versus last, if you swap out, so Villa won the playoffs, so if you exchange them for whoever won the playoffs last year, which was Fulham, we're something like 9 points and 17 goals worse off from the comparative fixtures last year. Like, again, it's not completely accurate because we played two of the teams that came up, so it was different teams. But obviously, like Tottenham, we won. Liverpool, we got absolutely dicked. Who else? Burnley, we won by 2 last year. Whatever, but I know we're a hell of a lot worse off. I saw it today.
Yeah, we probably weren't 5th in the table, though, were we? Everything's different. It's really
the stage of the season when they happen, though, isn't it?
The table is really squashed this year. I mean, this is how stupid a positive Arsenal fan I am. I went into last night's game thinking we can get 3 points back on Liverpool. You know, I mean, that's where I was. I wasn't even looking at Manchester United, Chelsea, thinking, not Chelsea, Manchester United and Spurs both dropped points again. And I wasn't thinking about, that's great, we can get a little bit of distance. I was thinking, right, well, City dropped points the last 2 weeks, Liverpool dropped some points this week. It can, give us some confidence. We can actually be looking at the top of the table. How stupid am I?
I'm on the other end of that. I had mates that were talking about Liverpool, and I was like, I really don't give a shit. Like, they're not relevant to me.
I don't think this is a stupid thing to say, seeing they're 9 games in and they've won 8 and drawn 1. But I still look at them and think they're flawed. They're not perfect. I look at Manchester City.
They're a hell of a lot less flawed than we are.
Yeah, fair enough. Excuse me coughing a lot today. It's because I've stopped smoking, finally, and I haven't stopped coughing since I've stopped smoking. This is directed at me. This is Vishad. Does Darren still have 100% faith in Emery after his latest farce? I will bet my house that if Emery were given the prime... excuse me. If some messages come in, I will bet my house that if Emery were given the prime Messi, Suarez, Ronaldo and the world's best 11, they would not finish top 4 with his brand of football. Well, I stumbled over that question a bit. Vishad, can I just say something? You've listened to me on this podcast, and I have been very much supportive of Emery. Let's say two things. One, certainly as a podcaster, on this podcast especially, I find myself having to play devil's advocate. Otherwise, you just listen to 3 or 4 blokes moaning constantly about how shit the manager is, and I don't think that makes for very good media. But I also would like to say one thing. I have not been 100% faith in Emery. I have backed our management all the way through this. They have offered our manager a 2-year contract, from what I understand, a 2-year contract with an option for a third. I've said many, many times, let's wait till Christmas, because that's when I will start to make my mind up. Because that way, he's had 2 transfer windows. He's had time enough to bed his side in. We'd have played half the teams in the Premier League, and we can then make a judgment on what we have and haven't seen. At the moment, I'm with all of you. I'm looking at it now. I'm thinking 9 games in. I'm not seeing much style. I'm not seeing much coordination. I'm not seeing... there's some things I do like, but there's a lot of things I don't. But I won't change my mind. It's not 100% blind faith in Emery. It's 100% faith in our board, who have said, right, we're appointing this guy. We didn't put him on a 5-year contract, which we would have done 3 years ago. We put him on a 2-year contract, and that means 6 months before that contract is up, they will start to look at that and start to make decisions. I will be very, very surprised if they sack our manager now. So my thing is always, let's get behind him. By Christmas, we'll have a clear idea, and then the club can make some decisions.
Would you be disappointed if, like, breaking news, he was sacked? Would you be disappointed?
If he was sacked today...
Like now,
I would. The positive I would take out of it is that we finally have a board who are really looking to the future, and they have really decided that they don't think he's the right man for the job. So I would take that positive. Would I be that disappointed? No, there's not enough that I'm seeing at the moment that is making me excited about going and watch Arsenal Football Club. And I love to watch Arsenal Football Club.
Well, it's weird because usually I go to like the Carabao Cup games and Europa League games. I don't really care. I just kind of want to be entertained. I don't really care what the score is. And now I find myself looking more forward to them games because we have a go.
Absolutely. Got any spare tickets for Thursday, by the way?
I've literally just sold like 7.
Oh,
so I can get some if you need it.
Yeah, my nephew was asking. We'll get on to that. By the way, Bullwinder got in touch this week as well. He wants to come over for the Manchester City game, and I said I'd talk to you about tickets. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, he messaged me a couple of weeks ago, but I said I'd never know until a few days before, and he's obviously planning a trip on it. So it makes it different.
It's a bad one to pick, really, Bullwinder. I mean, it is one of those that is going to be tougher.
Well, it's a midweek, isn't it? It's also, again, I don't know if there's a question about this. With the TV fixtures that announced, we got 2 8:15 kickoffs. What a fucking weird kickoff time.
Yeah. And 2 Saturday lunchtime games as well, haven't we? It was.
I saw people moaning about 8:15. Like, obviously, for me, it doesn't affect me, but people moaning about their kids and stuff, like being late for school or something. But I don't think 15 minutes makes too much a difference. But then that breeds the question: well, why bother move it 15 minutes later?
Yeah. Vish has another one. Game by game, Arsenal are becoming painful to watch in the Premier League. I understand Emery is a risk-adverse coach, but our players should use their brains during the game to realise Emery's tactics are bullshit and adjust accordingly. How nobody marked Mousse is mind-boggling.
When the players do something different, he loses their head at them, and you probably find that's part of the reason why Ozil doesn't get anywhere near the team. And secondly, I think marking it shouldn't, but it always kind of goes out the window when there's a second ball, because people naturally get attracted to the ball when it comes back in, and you'll always find people in space when there's a second ball. Whether it's a good defence or a bad defence, that just happens. I always think it's a little bit, look, should someone be in the 6-yard box on their own? No, but the amount of times it happens, like, look, next time you watch a game, look if a header's won at the back post, and in general you'll find someone standing on their own in the middle. Just for some reason, I don't agree with it, but it happens so often that it's kind of fact.
Yep, it's. I just want to sort of mention generally. I mean, I agree with what you just said there, but Vishad's having a moan about the players. Didn't you find yesterday? I mean, I think I mentioned it on last week's podcast, and Pepe played really well yesterday, but they look a bit stupid. You know, we had loads of throw-ins yesterday, and we're playing against a team that just knew how to stop us moving the ball forward, and every time we got it, we threw it back and had to start again. I just felt looking at that team yesterday, there was, if we could swap one of our midfielders, let's say Xhaka, just to make it the popular choice, if we could swap Xhaka with Santi Cazorla, wouldn't that make it all work?
Well,
isn't that what we're missing?
Well, I don't know. I mean, to bring up the throw-on point, we've always, and I mean this for literally 15 years, we have been the worst team at taking throw-ons when we get pushed into space. We just throw it aimlessly down the line. And look, it isn't enough for a player that cost us 40-odd million on 350 grand a week. But in general, when he plays, our tactic is throw it towards Ozil at some height, regardless of where. And in general, he gets the ball back to the throw-on taker, which means we keep the ball. I've said it, the amount of times we miss him for taking throw-ons, and I'm not saying that's a reason he should be in the team, because absolutely not. But that is literally our tactic, and if he's not on the pitch, we just throw it down the line.
Well, isn't that what I'm saying again about passing out from the back? If it went to Santi Cazorla, he could turn both ways, and he didn't just give the ball back. Do you know? I mean, what happens now is it gets to Guendouzi, it gets passed back. He might pass it to the other centre half, but he just passes it back. If it comes to Xhaka, generally it gets turned inside and then goes back. What we really miss, is when we had Santi Cazorla, where he could turn his way out of trouble and start something.
But I think he's not as good, but I think Ceballos could half do that role. I think more of the issue is that then we don't have anyone because Ceballos would generally be probably the most attacking midfielder. So if he comes back and does that, then we've got no one for him to pass it on to in front.
I don't
want to get on an Ozil bandwagon, but we've got Mesut Ozil.
Yeah, I just think Ceballos looks to me too dangerous to play in that position. Don't get me wrong. I think he looks like he is our future, but I just get concerned because he does just play a lot of blind balls inside. And when I'm talking about Santi Cazorla, somebody who was so good technically that they could just suck that ball into him and turn and not give it away. I'm not sure.
I mean, I wonder how good Cazorla would be, and if he didn't have someone ahead of him. Because generally, even if it wasn't Ozil playing, he had Jack or Ramsey. And I'm not saying they're world class, but they were ahead of him and they were comfortable in taking the ball under pressure if needed, as is Ozil. I wonder if Sanchez would have got on the half turn, looked up and saw no one, essentially, would our opinion of him be as high as it is?
Yeah, maybe so.
The ability as a player is unreal, but he also had the options. Would he look as great without the options? And my answer is probably not.
No. Another question from Hakon Larson, although it does say actually no question to go today, lads, just a comment. I can't understand why I look forward to the Premier League games at all. Bad team selection, bad tactics, bad subs, and we are letting lesser teams come at us. The Europa is actually more exciting to watch, and that says everything about the state of us.
Yeah. It's got to the point where going to football's actually ruined my day going to football. It's great until I get in the ground.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go for food, get a drive up with your mates, go for food, have a drink, get in the football ground. I could sack this bit off.
Right, MAA Gunner, what other candidates do you see other than Allegri? I don't want to get involved in that. Tony, anyone for you? I don't want to.
Honestly, I'm at a point where I take my nan.
Okay.
I am at that point, and I used to hate the anyone but Wenger guys. But I despise Emery at the moment. He just ruins every weekend for me.
Okay, you heard it here first. Tony's nan's going to be the new manager of Arsenal Football Club. Okay, MAA again. Is Martinez better than Leno? Well, what's Leno done wrong that you're off him now?
Well, I kind of hot. No is my answer. But I kind of half see where people come from. Yesterday, Leno didn't want the ball at his feet. He didn't want to have to play short, and he was clearly being made to. Which is what I said about Emery earlier, moaning at him and others. But he just, for whatever reason, he cannot clip that ball to fullback. And that's where the space is. And even if there's not space, Chambers is going to beat 99% of wingers in the air. And for whatever reason, Leno just can't play that ball. Whereas where Martinez plays that ball every time, when Martinez goes to play that ball, it's going where it's meant to. And Leno just can't do it. I think, look, Leno is better. But that one part of the game, which is most people are moaning at the moment, playing out of the back, I think Martinez is better at it.
Yeah, I think Leno made one slight error yesterday. He dropped, I don't know if you've seen this back.
From John Fleck.
But it was, again, back to that commentator. The commentator really had it in for Arsenal, or the assistant, or the analysis, whoever it was with the commentator yesterday. He said, Leno, that's embarrassing, he should catch that. But when they've had a great camera angle where you see the ball last 6 yards, curled back the other way, and I thought Leno did well to get his body behind it and then react really well. It wasn't.
It looked like it moved a lot. It was one of them. It looked like it moved a lot, but it didn't. Again, from my seat, which was the other end of the ground, so I'm 100 yards away. It looked like it moved a lot, but not quick enough for him to be spilling it. To be honest, from where I was, it looked like he should have held it. And look, I'd said Leno is a better keeper than Martinez, but I can understand, and I think we said a few weeks ago that would be after Xhaka's gone. When we finally get him out of the team, I think Leno will be the next one, because we always have to have a boo boy, I think Leno's next, and we said that a couple of weeks ago.
I'm sure we'll find somewhere. I think it might be Kolasinac. I'm just saying his name a lot, so I don't get criticised for calling him Klasniak, which I have done for years.
I was kind of hoping he'd be gone by then. So he wouldn't be, not gone, but Tierney would be ahead of him, so he wouldn't be there to be a boo boy. He will be, because everyone likes Tierney. If he stays in the team and Tierney, he will become a boo boy, for sure. Like Xhaka, people have not liked him for a while, but it's only since Torreira has been left out that people have gone like really wholehearted on Xhaka. And that's what I think the problem is going to be with if Kolasinac stays in. It's because there is another option. If we didn't have another option, then no one would bother booing, because he's all you've got.
Fair comment. Here's another question. This one's from that RC fella. On a lighter note, he says, can you please explain the rule whereby Guendouzi was given a yellow card for trying to avoid contact? Same thing happened to Socrates and more deliberately to Pepe.
Not seeing them again. The Pepe one looked ridiculous. And Mike Dean actually gave advantage. So, I don't know. He was just being Mike Dean. I can't offer any excuse for that. The one where they got done for diving looked like a foul to me. It looked like just one. I actually said good foul, to be honest. I think that was the Guendouzi one. And then the Socrates one, I thought was a bit unlucky again from my seat. It looked like the guy just ran into him. Like, there's nothing, he couldn't make himself invisible. But I can't really comment because I've not seen it. I've seen it once from one view in the ground, which is by the corner flag.
Yeah, if I'm honest, I watched him. I remember him last night, but I can't remember.
It was all players getting blocked off when they're on a run. As I said, the Pepe one was really bad. We was on the counter.
But I think the Pepe one, he went back and booked him, didn't he?
I thought he did, but then I saw someone else moan saying they couldn't believe they didn't get booked. So I think
he went back and booked him after that. And they showed it again, and he really did take him out. But I think Mike Dean, I'm not going to say to give him credit because I don't want to, but I think he did go back and book him.
Yeah, I said I thought he did in the ground, but then I did see a couple of tweets when I come out like, I can't believe they've not been booked for that foul on Pepe, and I couldn't remember any other foul on Pepe, so
maybe we're missing one. This one is from MAA. Crazy question, but relevant. What is your Premier League team of the decade? I don't know what we're talking about. Are we talking about who's my favourite Premier League of the last 10 years, or Premier League team?
Yeah, I don't know if he means an 11 or the actual club, as in the City team that got over 100 points. So I'm going to go with that as my answer because I don't really know what he means. If he means the best 11 players, that would be a good question come December because we're not going to be. Yeah, we're at the end of the decade. So,
yeah. Maybe he meant the best Arsenal team of the of the decade.
Disgustingly, probably the one that came second to Leicester.
Yeah.
The one that gets the most stick, to be fair.
MAA, come back to us on that one when we've got an international break and we'll discuss that one. This is from Liam. Liam, the group chat told me to repeat this in the question thread. Don't blame me for asking. It is more likely that we're some sort of cruel social experiment at the moment, or that Twitter pays Emery to make these questionable decisions to keep the timelines going.
It's funny, as I was on the way back from the game yesterday, I was with my friends and I was saying that Wenger once said, I don't know if you remember it, that it won't be too long before social media is making substitutions.
Yeah. And
after Emery's subs last night, I half hope they do. Like, just put a poll on Twitter because it can't be any fucking worse than what we saw.
Well, look, see, this is where I'm losing all faith with the modern game. Where I want 10 blokes in a room to make decisions on penalties.
By the way, I really don't want social media to make subs. I was definitely joking.
And we were quite pleased that Xhaka came off yesterday because it was voted for on a poll on Twitter.
I just don't think Emery could be far more wrong yesterday if he would have just asked geezers on Twitter.
Yeah, maybe. This is from Adam May. That's good to know. Do you feel our midfield is poorly balanced and lacks basic awareness of danger, meaning it's more difficult for the defence to do their jobs?
I just don't get what our midfield does. We've got no defensive midfielders. We've got no attacking midfielders. Like, our contribution from midfield, attacking-wise, is like Guendouzi might get 5 assists a year, maybe. Xhaka is not on set pieces anymore, so he'll probably get less than 3. They'll get less than 8 goals between them. And then whoever plays with them, it doesn't fit. Like, if Ceballos plays, then you get no one attacking. If Willock plays, as we saw yesterday, you get no one attacking. But then none of them are great defensively either. I'm not actually sure what the function of our midfield is supposed to be. And there's nothing against the players. I like Xhaka more than most people, which isn't hard. I think Guendouzi's been 10 times better this year than he was last year. I'd go as far as say I think Guendouzi's been very good this year. But I don't actually get what their functional role is meant to be. Like, you look at other teams and you go, oh, well, this guy's there to do the defending. This one's going to create. This one's going to get 10, 15 goals. And you look at us and you're like, yeah, I don't really know.
Do you know, to Adam, replying to Adam's question, I agree with a lot you say there, Tony. It's been the most disappointing thing because the sum of the parts, Willock we like, Guendouzi we like, Torreira we like, Ceballos we like. There's a lot of good midfielders we've got, Ozil we like, and it's just not working at all. It's one of the big problems. But I look at that selection last night and last week perhaps, especially away from home. It seems a bit too much to play 3 up front. Playing a 4-3-3, whatever, or a 4-2-1, whatever it was. It just seemed too many. We seem to need an extra body in there to make that work, and it does need to be a Ceballos or an Ozil if it is going to work. And I just think we're having Saka up wide left and Pepe wide right. It's something at the start of the season we thought it'd be great to see what that all looks like, except we were talking Lacazette instead of Saka at the time. Now I just think it's a waste. We hardly get the ball up there. So what's the point of having an extra?
The only way he will ever contemplate change that, which is an argument you could say he tried to do yesterday, is play 4-2-3-1. The issue is he's shoehorning people into the 10, the middle of the 3. Because even if he comes away from 3 attackers, the 4-3-3, the only way he can possibly come away from that is to get them 2 wingers a little bit deeper and then play a 10. But he won't pick, probably, I would say, the only 10 we actually have, who is an actual out-and-out 10, he obviously doesn't want to pick. So then he's picking a formation that doesn't suit us at all because we don't have a 10.
No, it was honestly, I've been backing up Emery. There was 2 things last night. Not playing Tierney when he will be an improvement. He will make that side better than it could have been. And when it's absolutely blindingly obvious that the speed of thought of those players was too slow, you needed a Mesut Ozil, and we didn't have one on the side. And we didn't have a Mesut Ozil in the squad.
Yeah, again, whether you like him or not, he has to travel, and I think he'll play on Thursday, to be honest.
Well, I think me and you argued, the other week, and you were probably quite right when I listened back, saying, well, Ozil needed to be on the bench. We needed Mesut Ozil. For me, that game yesterday was the game where you needed somebody to split that defence. We just played around it for 45
anyone that
minutes.
gives you an option that others don't needs to be involved somehow, because even if they're not starting, it gives you that option if things aren't working. Yeah. There's no point changing things just like for like if it's not working. So for me, again, whether you're going to play him or not, and this is where we both come to the conclusion, it's obviously a personal issue, but for me, anyone that can offer anything different in any role, so even if we're starting in midfield, you'd always have Lucas on the bench because he can bring a bit more defensive stability. So if you need to change things, you can do it. But in the attacking sense, we've got no one that changes anything.
No. Yeah, hugely disappointing yesterday. We've scraped, this is from MAA again, we've scraped every draw and win. Do you think the sole purpose of appointing Emery was that he can handle the Europa League and just get us back into the Champions League? He's quite limited to be a long-term plan.
Hope he wasn't that short-sighted.
Do you know what, Emily? I don't think so. I think that the candidates that were available at the time, he was, after 22 years with one manager, I think taking a punt on Arteta or Vieira, which were touted at the time, would have been just a bit too far. He's got a fairly decent record. He has got great experience in the Europa League, and you're sort of wanting to give him a chance. to see what he can do. And I'm still going to say, the jury's not out for me. I want to ask me again at Christmas. I'm not going to, after one terrible result yesterday, going to kick throw my toys out the pram. But generally 9 games in, I haven't seen a lot to be too excited about. I've seen a lot in the games as a whole. When you look at the Europa League and the League Cup, there are some exciting things going on. At the moment, I'm not particularly happy, but I think he was brought in because they saw some potential. They will make a decision at Christmas, I'm sure. They will look another 8 or 9 games in when we'll have played pretty much everyone, and the club will make a decision whether they think he's good enough to get that extension for his 3rd year, or they will replace him.
Do you know what? It really worries me in one sense, but kind of makes me happy in another. He reminds me so much of Bruce Rioch. It is unbelievable.
Yeah. It's so weird, that, Tony. I watched that. Did you watch the documentary Righty and Burkamp over the last week?
No, I've not seen it yet. I kept meaning to catch it and I haven't.
It was funny because they didn't talk a lot about Bruce Rioch. Sorry to talk over you, but Bruce, obviously they were doing flashbacks to him because Burkamp was signed by Rioch, and Righty fell out with Rioch, and they showed his picture.
It reminds me of him,
and it did make me think that is Emery the Bruce Rioch that we've got him to take place after George Graham. We've got George Graham and Arsene Wenger, hugely successful, long tenure at the club. A short-term fix that hasn't worked out, and then there's going to be a big change very soon.
Yeah, well, just even like the Bruce Rioch's biggest downfall was probably falling out with Ian Wright, as you said, and trying to sign some nobody from Bolton, I think it was. And obviously, Emery seems to be falling out with players and trying to sign his own players, Dennis Suarez and a few others we've been linked with. And just so much reminds me of him. And the reason I said it half makes me happy is because Rioch was booted out very fucking quickly. Yeah. So that's the only positive I can see from that thing, is that when our fans always say, we're not that type of club, we stand by our managers and give them long term. Well, the manager before Wenger, we didn't. So
no. I mean, generally through the history we've kept with them, even terrible ones. You're probably not old enough to remember Terry Neal as a manager. God, that was when I've stood in the clock end. This is the clock end talk. I've stood on the clock end when there was 4 of us. 4 people on a Tuesday or Wednesday night, Middlesbrough, 0-0 draw, train strike, pissing down with rain. The clock end didn't have a roof on it at the time, and it was freezing cold, and there were 4 of us on the clock end. So that's how I remember Terry Neal's tenure. So we have had some pretty shit managers. Maybe that's why I'm just a little bit more forgiving, because I have seen a lot of shit at our club. This is one from Josh. So I actually thought that there was improvement this game, but I don't understand what the game plan was. Do you guys know what Emery was trying to do and why he made the subs he did? I would have started Sabas instead of Willock or even Ozil if that was an option. I mean, Josh, I think we've both agreed with everything you said there, and no, we don't know. Tony?
Yeah, I mean, we could have saved ourselves a podcast and just retweeted what Josh said, to be fair.
Yeah, it's a very... Josh.
Apart from, I don't think there was improvement yesterday, apart from Pepe improved compared to Pepe from other games. But when you started reading that, I thought, don't come and be all positive after yesterday. But he did everything else I completely agree with, but I don't think he improved yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I think Xhaka said it after the game in his interview, and I think Emery said it as well. If we'd have scored the first goal, that would have been different. And I absolutely agree that a lot of the way we're playing this year depends on getting the first goal. And we very rarely get the first goal.
Well, and when you can't defend, you can't rely on getting the first goal. No. I've seen a lot of mini snippets from his interview yesterday. And again, maybe it's coming from a place of very strong dislike. But some of the stuff he said yesterday was just fucking ridiculous.
MWA again, did we bring David Luiz in just because he's good at forcing out managers?
Big agent. Let's be honest, they bring him in because Emery's managed him before. There was, again, as I said, Emery wants to bring in his own players.
Yeah.
And they seem to give him 1 or 2 a window where I'll go and you choose this one.
Yeah, and the last question, in fact, I think we've covered this. That's that RC fella again who says, do you subscribe to the theory that Emery isn't a risk taker, hence doesn't play Ozil because he typically has to take risks to pull off big chances? I mean, we haven't really touched on Ozil this week too much. I mean, we've both mentioned that we thought he should have played at some part in that game. There was some strange stuff come out for the club this week, wasn't it? Or in the last 2 weeks over the international break, basically sort of saying from both sides, Emery said everything's fine. Ozil's working hard. Ozil said, I'm working harder in training. And you sort of thought that the rift had been forgiven a little, didn't you?
It's difficult because Mesut Ozil has the best PR team in football, always has done. And every time you read anything that he's said, you just think, like, what a guy. Like, he's perfect. Do you know what I mean? You blame everyone else. And it's always been like that. And I'm someone that thinks Mesut Ozil should be playing, so to realise that it is PR and not him and his shit doesn't smell of roses is probably quite rare. But it's always hard to decipher stuff like that, especially with Ozil's PR team. But I don't know, can it be fixed? Because it's not the first time it's happened. It's not like there's had a one-off. I think the same thing's going to happen again, that Emery's going to get in shit and realise that we need to be more creative, and he'll bring Ozil in, and then when he thinks he's steadied the ship again, he'll bomb him off again. The same happened at the back end of last season, the same happened with Ramsey last season. And I mean, Ozil said in that interview, I'm here till at least 2021, and I've said it on here many times. I think Ozil truly believes he will outlast Emery, and I agree with him.
Yeah, not sure. We were asked that question a few weeks ago, weren't we? Who would be the longest, Ozil or Emery? I think I said
the whole time. I can't. As said to me, that date would be now, but.
But I mean, I don't want to defend Emery, but I will say again, on the back of losing 1-0 against a team away from home in the Premier League is not the time to throw your toys out the pram. It's not.
It's not just
in isolation. It's not bad.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, there's
not in isolation.
The last 2 games, Premier League games, have been incredibly disappointing, just from our lack of ability, lack of initiative. You know. Anyway.
Yeah, when was the last time I'd say we played well for 90 minutes in a league game, because we had some good Europa League games, and I started thinking back to last season, and then you naturally go to the home games because we were shit away at the end of the season, and the last 2 home games we didn't win. So I can't remember who we beat before we played Crystal Palace at home, but it might have been then, the last time we played well at home. I don't know, because I can't remember that far back. It was literally must have been March, the last time we played a Premier League game where you can say we played well.
Yeah, can't remember.
Bournemouth, 5-1, was it? 5-0, 5-1?
I think that was a bit flattering though, wasn't it?
No, I mean, I don't think it was. I just think Bournemouth were really, really shit. I remember
that's what I mean. I guess that's what I mean. Like, there's playing well, and then, I mean, I said to you about a month ago that we're gonna smash someone soon, 5-0, and I felt that 3 weeks ago, and I don't now. I mean, what I was expecting was for Pepe to find a bit of form like he did last night, to have Tierney and Bellerin back in. Aubameyang, Lacazette up front. You know, I just sort of saw this and thought we're going to really connect sooner or later. There's going to be a game where suddenly it all works, and that will give us all of the confidence. And I'm not writing this off, but it's not looking like that at all at the moment, is it?
No, I mean, I can't see it. I really can't. I just think we're too disjointed. Yeah. And it will happen to teams in the Europa League and League Cup where we don't really care. But that's just not good enough.
No. Right, well, what we got to look forward to, we've got a game Thursday night against Victoria?
Yeah.
And
do you think Ozil plays? I was talking to people earlier. I was asking him.
At the moment, I can't see him getting anywhere near, but I think he might. We've got a game. We're playing Crystal Palace on the weekend.
Palace on Sunday.
Yeah. I think we might see a bit of Ozil, but I think I think this was so bad yesterday, this might actually work in Ozil's favour, and we might just see him back. I'm not sure he'll play him Thursday, but he might just give him some minutes to get him fresh. But that's what he did last time, isn't it? He played him for an hour, he took him off, and we all thought, oh, he's going to play him at the weekend, and then we didn't see him again for 2 weeks.
Since, yeah. Well, that's the thing. I was talking to people in the group chat earlier, and I was saying that the back 5 picked themselves pretty much for Thursday. And then you've got Torreira starts and Martinelli starts.
Are you saying Bellerin's going to play?
I think Bellerin, Holding, Mustafi, Tierney.
Okay, it's just I'm just not sure if Bellerin's had a setback or anything, because I thought he might have travelled.
Well, they said in the international break we set up a behind closed doors friendly, and Ozil and Bellerin both played in it. So unless there's been no reports.
No.
He definitely played in the last week of an international break. He played a game, but
You're going on Thursday, aren't you?
yeah,
I mean, I'm looking forward to it.
yeah, no, that's what I said earlier. But yeah, so looking at the team, as I said, I think the back five picks itself. I think Torreira plays, and I think Martinelli plays. You've got 4 spots there. Obviously, there's no Reece Nelson. Saka's now seen as a first team player. I can't even. I struggle to name a team that doesn't include Ozil, unless you start going stupid and going, "Oh, he's going to start Aubameyang," which he surely can't.
No, but he might start Lacazette to give him some minutes.
But even then, so you go Lacazette, Martinelli. You still got 2
Smith-Rowe,
spots still.
Torreira,
No, Torreira already had in there.
Emil Smith-Rowe.
Is he back fit?
Well, he only had concussion, didn't he?
Yeah, I know he didn't train for 2 weeks.
Yeah, but that was a month ago now.
Honestly, someone else in the group chat said Smith Rowe as well, and I like Smith Rowe. There's nothing against him, but I really struggle to pick a team that doesn't include him. I mean, Emery will find a way if he wants to, but because as you said, you're going on so many maybes. He might give Lacazette minutes. He might do. You know what I mean? He might do this. He might do that. There's so many maybes that have to all be played at once to not play Ozil.
All right, well, my prediction is he starts Ozil and he brings him off after an hour.
Yeah, I think similar, maybe a bit longer, but same sort of thing.
Yeah, and let's see if he turns up. And that's the other thing, isn't it? Because Ozil gets better week in, week out. He isn't playing.
Everyone does.
Yeah.
No, again, Tierney's played 2, and I'm part of this club. Tierney's played 2, what I would basically call second string fixtures for us, and he's the new Ashley Cole.
Yeah. But it's not so much. There's 2 sides to the Tierney thing, isn't it? Because we've spent 25 million on him. We've seen him twice, and he's been exceptional. But we know that he's going to replace someone who isn't that good.
I don't know. As I said, I'm fully signed up to that fan club. I'm being a hypocrite in saying this, but everyone does. When they're not playing, they're the best player ever. And as you said, now Ozil's currently good again because we're shit without him. But we might be shit with him, and that's what you're saying. It needs to be seen on Thursday. Yeah,
so we'll play Victoria. That should be a straightforward game, shouldn't it, for our second string? And then Crystal Palace at the weekend, which is where it all went wrong for me last year. Yeah,
I mean, that'll be. I mean, you just put your money on Zaha to score now.
And their record away from home is exceptional. The only team they've lost to is Sheffield United, isn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy. I think this year they're the last team until Wolves the other week. They're the last team to beat away like City, us. They've lost to Tottenham this season as well. They got absolutely dick there 4-0. But yeah, they're the last team to basically beat all of the top sides at home was them at one point.
Yeah, didn't they win at Tottenham's new ground at the end of last season? Isn't that where that stat came from as well? I think.
No, that was West Ham.
I know West Ham were the first to do it, but I thought
Palace lost there. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
But I think they lost 4-3 at Anfield. They beat us. They beat City. They beat United this year. So I think that's where it came from.
I mean, that's the other thing we haven't really touched on this week is the Premier League. Spurs, Spurs are rubbish.
I still can't get over the Deulofeu not getting a penalty. I just can't. And people are blaming VAR in a way rightly, but the ref's got to give that.
Yeah, I didn't even see it. I listened to that Tottenham game on the radio. It was a pleasant way to spend a Saturday afternoon. United took points off Liverpool. Thought that was good. City back on track. Good 2-0 win at Crystal Palace. Nothing much of. I mean, it's all in our hands again, isn't it? I mean.
Yeah, I mean, at one point, I think Chelsea was 0-0, Leicester were drawing, Tottenham were losing, and you thought, what a day.
Yeah.
And then, 3 minutes later, Tottenham had equalised, Chelsea had gone 1-0 up, Burnley had conceded, Leicester had scored, and you thought, fucking hell, within 3 minutes, it's gone from the perfect day to a Tottenham goal away from the worst it could possibly be.
Yeah, still, we're still in 5th. It's not doom and gloom. It's... and we didn't get bashed. We only got lost by the odd goal.
Whatever helps you to sleep at night, mate.
No, I'm just trying to find some positivity in a very, very miserable week. Anyway, Tone, I've got to go. Anything else you want to add before we tie up?
No, I think that's all from me.
Well, just keep positive out there. It's you might get your wish and a change of manager. I might get my wish and we might beat someone 5 or 6-0. And then we'll all be happy. Thanks ever much for your questions, sending everything in. Thanks, Tony, for joining me today. Schwinn, will you get your arse back on this podcast? Tez, hope you're feeling well, and we look forward to you coming back and cunting every cunt up there. Anything else, Tony? No? All right, I'm going to say goodbye. Bye. 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 Bye.